Hi there everyone, Jeremy Brown here with another how-to video. On this one, we're going to be going over how to program and set up a Tam Valley Quad LNS board. So I've got one sitting up right out here, as you can see here. Got another one brand new in the package here. So we're going to go ahead and I'll show you this one. We're going to shoot with the video of hooking this up, and then we'll go on the computer and then go from there. So if you've watched my other videos, you'll notice that I have my RR Circuits SSB gateway sitting right here. That provides the power to the local net. Now, when you're programming a board, you want to make sure it's isolated from all the rest of the boards. So what I'm going to do is I've got a couple different cables. I got one that comes from the computer, and I got another one that goes out to the layout. Now the one that I've got to go into the layout, which would be one of these days I'll get this figured out. It's actually this bottom one. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug that because I do not want to program all the boards that are on the layout. Now, the 6-wire flat cable here that came with the SSB gateway, I've just got it in one of the ports. And what I do is this is sitting over here in this conglomerate mess that one of these days I'll actually clean up. This is what I use for actually programming my boards. So I've got this set here. You just got to plug that into one of the local net ports. Then you also need to provide 12-volt power. So right here is actually my 12-volt power source at 30 amp. Good old eBay. This is actually going out throughout the whole layout. But down here on my terminal strip, I also actually added an additional wire to be able to provide power for programming new boards. So I'm going to go ahead. Now, whatever color you use is up to you. For the high desert division, for 12-volt power, I've got the orange is hot or positive, and the gray is neutral or the negative. So I'll go ahead. If you look on the board, I mean, it's pretty simple here. It's got 12-volt DC right above this blue terminal. It's got a negative on one side, positive on the other. Doesn't get much easier than that. So we'll go ahead, get my jeweler's flat bladed screwdriver. We'll go ahead and attach these. And you do this while the power is off. Okay, so I've got the power off. We'll go over the board a little bit, kind of a couple different things. You've got two port or RJ12s here for your local net. You've got another port here for your remote aligner. And the other things you got to really what you're looking at, you got your your 1 through 4 servo here, and then your expansion port. If you're doing servos, you can actually this would be 5 through 8, or if you're doing a signal board, that will go here. Your detector board, if you're using one of those, you can actually use 8 servos and put the detector board, because the detector board will take up these main I/O ports right here. That board connects onto here, so it's pretty nice. Now you'll notice when I plug this in, you'll have 3 different LEDs down here. You got active or activity, your message, and your local net power. Also, you're going to see this little jumper. Hopefully you can see this little thing. That will be sitting on the board. It'll be off to one side. It will not be on both of them. Make sure it is just sitting there, or if you want to, you can completely pull it off and put this in a separate bag for later. The only time you're going to need it is for this time right now and actually programming it. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the 12-volt power source, and you'll see hopefully here. Let's readjust the camera. Okay, I'm going to turn on the power source, the 12-volt power source. and we should be able to see some of these LEDs light up. There we go. So all three are lit up, so it shows that we have local net power, and that we got, you know, the message and active. All three of these should be light up solid, just like that. So what I'm going to do is there's a I'm going to switch over to the computer part here, and I'm going to hang on a second here. Let's use that as there we go. That way you can see it a little bit better. So I'm going to go over to the computer. I'm going to cover a little bit of that, and then we'll come back to the board when we're programming it through JMRI, and to be able to show you exactly what it is that you need to see. So to start out, we're going to go ahead and go over here to Panel Pro, and we're going to open that up. Now, I've already opened up one here as video for Active Profile. You can, as I mentioned in the first video on how to set up a standalone LocoNet system, I talked about opening or starting different profiles based on what it is that you're going to be working on. So in this case, I'm going to be doing LocoNet programming. So I've got my own profile just for doing programming on boards that are hooked up to the LocoNet. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to open up mine for this example. So we'll go ahead and hit OK. Now we've got my panel here. We don't need that up right now, so we'll go ahead and hide that. And we don't need the wireless right now, so we'll hide that as well. Okay, so we got a brand new quad LNS board that we want to get programmed. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to go over here to Tools. Then we're going to go to Programmers, and then we're going to go to Service Mode Programmer. Once you have clicked on that, this screen is going to come up. You're going to want to use the scroll bar. Scroll down till you find the Tam Valley Depot. So go ahead and double click on that file. Then you're going to go down here to Quad LNS and double click on that. And then you're going to see Quad LNS version 1. You click once on that, and then click once on the programmer. Takes a few minutes. It takes a couple seconds, but be patient. Don't double click it because it'll open up multiple windows. Alright, so here we are. We're at the in the service mode programming for this board. So what we're going to want to do here for the ID, you can put whatever you want in here to identify your board. Based on the information that Tam Valley gives in their manual, I just go ahead and use the QLN for Quad LN, and then whatever address you want to start out with. For some reason I started out with 11,000. Don't ask me why, I just did. So I got 11,105. So this is the 5th board that I'm programming. You can label it however you want. Then we'll go down here. Okay, so I've already done this. It does not like that. So we'll just call it board number 7 for the purposes of this video. Road name, you can put your railroad in here. I'll just go ahead and quickly put the Santa Fe High Desert Division in. And owner, yeah, I guess you could put your name in here too if you wanted to. You don't have to. This is just additional information that will get encoded onto the board. The big key thing that you have to do is the ID. That you do have to change. So once you do that, we'll go over here to basic, and then your active address. So you're going to want to change this to whatever you're going to start. In this case, I'm doing 11,107. And it will automatically change the long address down here once you change this to active address. Still, again, do not at any point click write changes. Do not click any of these buttons down here. Leave these alone. The next thing you want to do is go over here to CVs. Now once you get over to here, we'll go ahead and go up here to File and Save. Now once you've done that, now it will come time to go over to the board itself, and I'll explain that, and you need to do a couple changes, and then what the next process is, we're going to write two of the CVs, CV number 17 and number 18. And by writing these, this is going to update the information from the roster entry that you put in, along within the Basics tab that gives it the new address. So once we'll go ahead and do that next. Okay, now we're getting ready to write CV number 17 and number 18. So we're back here at the quad LNS board. Remember that little jumper I talked to you about earlier? So that right now is where it comes into play when we're programming this board itself to give it a address so that LocalNet can read it. You're going to put that jumper on both contacts on the ADDR. When you do that, both these top LEDs are going to flash back and forth just like they are right now. Now we're going to go back to the computer and we're going to go write CV number 17 and number 18. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. Let's write number CV 17. Now you're going to get this programming error down here at the bottom. Don't worry about it. Just continue on and write number CV 18. And as before, you're going to get this programming error. Okay, so I referred to the programming error that is on JMRI. Now, it's going to say there's a programming error. Do not worry about it for both 17 and 18. If these LEDs stop flashing, as they are right now, that they're solid, that means it programmed your board. It is actually, it's confusing, but that means it worked. So with that said, we're going to go back over to the computer. We know that this board is now programmed for whatever address that you gave it, and we will remove this ADDR jumper. I usually just keep it on one of the contacts, just in case I need it later on. Or you can take it off, put it in a Ziploc bag, put it in a safe place, just in case you have to program this again. Okay, so now that that is programmed, we're going to go ahead and then click File, Save. Yep, just File and Save. That's all you got to do. And then down here it'll tell you the roster file for that address has been saved. So we'll go ahead and close that. Let's hit OK. We do not need the service mode programming anymore. So we'll go back here to our JMRI Panel Pro. Okay, so we're going to go over here to Panel Pro. We're going to go over here to Tools. Then we're going to go to Programmers and go to the Ops Mode Programmer. And then once you get here, you're going to look here for all entries. And then it looks like it says locomotive. But what we're going to do is we're going to go down here to the QLNN and whatever it is, the address that you addressed that board for. So in this case, for our example here, I did 11,105. So we're going to click Open Programmer once we've clicked on whatever your address is for that board. Yep, just click it once, give it a second. It takes a little bit of time. So we're going to go over here to CVs. This is the Quad LNS tab. That's the first thing you want to click. Now, once you do this, now you got to remember, we're working on this as in the fact that this is a standalone LocalNet system. It will be different if you are using Digitrax. In my case, I am using NCE. The first thing, this board goes nuts with JMRI until it realizes that, oh, by the way, there is no command station. So the very first thing you want to do is this No Command Station tab right over here. Click on that. And then go down here and click Write Changes on Sheet. Now, as soon as you do that, then all of a sudden the board decides to wake up and realize that There is no command station, and everything is coming from JMRI. Once you've done that, go ahead and read the full sheet. As you can see, it's going through and all the yellows are turning to white, which is, yeah, that's a good thing. Now, if this is your first board, let's just start with the first category here, servo start address. Whatever you want to start your servo addresses at, you put a number in there. I went with 100. You can go with 1. I think the 1 is on the default. Being that, I'm starting at 1. Now, this is not my first board. And again, this is where I go back to the Excel spreadsheet. So I go down to my servo board address for 11,105. I know that the beginning address is going to be 140 because I got 100 through 7, so that's 8, then another 8, then another 8. I just kept going down. So that way I know that for this board, I need to start my servo addresses at 140. So I'm going to go ahead and put 140 for my servo start address. Then when I get to my lock address, even though I'm not using this feature yet, I'm going ahead and I'm programming them so that it will actually begin at number 41 for an address. Now, anytime you make a change, you'll see it'll go to this golden color. So I'll do those two. And I hit the wrong button. I hit red. I should have hit the right changes on sheet. So let's go do that again. There we go. Now we'll go right changes on sheet. There. Now it's made those corresponding changes. Now, if you are using both the regular 4 pins for servos along with the auxiliary 5 through 8 for servo control, you'll want to click that little button right there. We've got the servos clicked. Now, we need to make a few more changes over here on the right hand side. So, your servo off when stopped. That will actually stop the motor from running once it has reached its destination, or as far as when it's reached its left and right maximum or minimum. So we'll go ahead and click that. The servo state memory, we want that clicked. Reentry on DCC busy, we'll unclick that. And then output off switch request, we'll unclick that. Now we've already did the no command station. That's how we're able to make these changes, because this board goes, like I said, goes nuts when it doesn't realize that there's no command station. And then broadcast local actions, we want that one checked. So once we got those changes made, we'll write those changes on that sheet. So let's go ahead and go through that, and that is done. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to group 1 through 8. We'll go ahead and click on that. Now, a couple different things you're going to notice. So a lot of this stuff, you can just forget that it's even here. But what we'll do, there's a couple changes that you got to know. So immediately, it's going to automatically update the address. Because we started at 140 right here on the quad LNS tab. So go to group 118. So this is servo number 1. It automatically puts that in there along with the lock. It updates those two. Now the travel. This is how much that servo is going to move to one way to the closed position or to the thrown position. These here are standard. I just leave them as they are until I actually have the servo installed and actually start making adjustments with the remote aligner. And then once I've done that, then I actually read those changes by reading the full sheet. And then once those numbers are in there, then I am always saving. One of the key things though is this output message right here. You want to change this to exact feedback. This will actually generate the closed and thrown position once you start adding the turnouts into the turnout table within JMRI. If you don't do this, it's not going to know whether or not that turnout has been closed or whether it's actually thrown. And then it says exact feedback is simulated. There is no contacts like a tortoise that's, you can use the relay to tell you, oh, hey, yes, I actually really truly did throw that. The quad LNS will automatically simulate the fact that it was actually triggered within JMRI or by a fascia panel. That, oh, it, by triggering it, it's going to automatically flip it to, if it was at closed, it's now going to be thrown. So this is important that you go ahead and click this onto the simulation part of it. Now, and Cascade, I have not dealt with this stuff yet, but this is for yards where if you trigger one turnout, it will cascade multiple servos to actually align you up. This is, yeah, so that stuff will be for, that's really getting into the weeds here. Auxiliary. The auxiliary output, these are going to deal with if you've got block detection, or if you've got the detector board with that. Again, this is a whole additional video within itself, so don't change anything here. Now, the only other thing here is on the action. You're going to want to make sure these are on toggle, or whoops, not thrown. Where's the toggle at? There she is. Okay, you're going to want to make sure these are on toggle, just whatever one it is. So servo 1, which is right here, group 1. 2, yeah, for some reason this didn't follow through. That'll be toggle. Yeah, usually this automatically updates. I'm not exactly sure why it didn't in this case. We'll go ahead and, oh, yeah, it's not going to even really do much when I write the changes, but as it goes through, it should be, 1 through 4. Then when you hit 5, it'll go back up here to 1, which is kind of a little odd, but, yeah, just so you know, there we go. That'll be going through that. So always remember to click save. So in a nutshell, that's all you really got to do to actually get your quad LNS board programmed. Once you've got that information all in there, yeah, we'll go ahead and save that. Then you go here to tools and you go to your tables and your turnouts. Now it's going to show a whole bunch of them here because I've already got a ton of them already programmed in. I'm not exactly sure why these 4 are here. They shouldn't be, but we'll deal with that later. So, and there's several videos on this, on what you want to do, but what you can do is once you've got your servos hooked up, you can go down here and click add, and then add a new turnout. First thing you want to do is your system connection, which is going to be LocoNet. Then your hardware address. It's whatever the address is that's going to be for that turnout. And again, keeping all these in a spreadsheet in Excel is very, very helpful. So you put whatever address is going to be in here. Like in this case, I'll put 140 because that was the next one on that next board. Right now, I won't put a username in because I'm not exactly sure what the turnout name is for Servo 140, but I can still create it and go back in and add the username later. So go ahead and create it. Once we do that, you're going to see it down here, LT140. It automatically adds the LT, which is LocoNet turnout number 140. It does not know the state of the turnout. Oh, I know why it's got all this on here. It's because I've got the LocoNet unplugged right now, and it's only on that one board. But when I was mentioning earlier about the exact, whether it's thrown or closed, that's what you're going to see right here, and it's going to simulate that that information. Also, on the mode right here, I've always had to go back through and change this to exact instead of monitoring. I'm not exactly sure why it doesn't automatically. There's probably a way to actually make it do that all the time, but I've always had to go back through here and hit the exact. Now if I go back and unplug this board 105, or in my case 105, but I unplug that board and then plug back in the layout, all of these turnouts will actually update, because it will automatically update everything as soon as you turn on the power to the LocoNet along with the JMRI. So hopefully that gives you a good understanding on how to program a Tam Valley Quad LNS board in JMR using JMRI and being able to get it going for turnout servo control. Thank you so much for watching. If you've got questions, please add that down in the comments. I will try to do my very best to get that answered for you. I want to give a great big shout out to Robin with Tam Valley. He worked with me for a good 2 hours on this, getting this stuff set up. And the least I figured I could do is to repay the favor by doing a quick video to kind of explain these boards. These boards they do a lot. I'm barely scratching the surface of what these things are capable of. And I am learning every day something new about these boards that they can do. But again, like I said, thank you so much for watching, and please feel free to subscribe to the channel and also click the little bell so that way you'll get an alert when I post a new video. Thanks again for watching, and happy modeling.